are super glad that you're with us today. I want to introduce you guys to the team. So I'm Deb. I'm one of the lead coaches here at Tailored. Sorry, telemarketer wants to call me right now. And let's just turn that off. Sorry, I forgot to do that. Marianne, as you know, is one of our other awesome coaches here at Tailored, and she and her family have been in Ireland serving. And then also behind the scenes, we've got Lindsay, who's our operations manager. She's going to be running the chat and the Q&A. And then Kavina, who is our marketing director, she's going to be running the slides for us. And we are really looking forward to being with you guys today, where we're going to be talking about how to expand your network through individuals, how to expand your network through small groups, and how to expand your network through churches. So before we dive in, I just want to give a brief, quick Zoom tutorial. In your Zoom screen, you're going to see a chat button. This is an interactive webinar, so we're going to be asking you to put your thoughts in the chat. And it's also where we're going to be putting some helpful links and some other information. So just make sure that once you've opened the chat, that you click on that blue button at the bottom and select everyone so that everyone can see what's being shared. The other button I want to draw your attention to is that Q&A box. If at any time you've got a question, please put it in the Q&A box, because if you put it in the chat, it might get lost.
Okay, so let's begin by setting our hearts on something that is true and right and lovely. God is our provider. When we're in a funding deficit, it can be easy to lean into our own power and to figure it out and to make it happen. But this is not the way of the kingdom. The kingdom's way is to lean into his power and let his voice guide our steps. Never take actions to follow the money. Follow the Lord instead, and follow the relationships that he has given you. So one thing that I think is really important for us to realize and acknowledge is that if there's an obstacle to engaging people, it's usually us. We have this strange tendency to make assumptions about people's capacity and inclination and to say no for them without even inviting them to partner. We tend to answer for our network instead of giving the people in our network a chance to speak and decide for themselves. Why do we do that? It's because we're looking at it the wrong way. We're looking at the money and asking people for something rather than the relationship, and giving people an opportunity to participate in kingdom work by inviting them into a blessing. So when you are looking at the people in your network, don't ask who can afford to give or who do I think might be interested. Instead, ask who needs to hear about this ministry. So with that in mind, let's think about your network. Who is your network? When we talk about your network, we are talking about every single person God has brought into your life from the day you were born until now. So if you are looking to expand your network, but there are still 500 Facebook friends you haven't engaged with, or 20 extended cousins that have been overlooked, or a whole church full of fellow members that you haven't approached, you don't need to expand your network. You need to engage the network that God has already given you. So if that's you, you may have some concerns about how to best reach out to people from your past, or maybe how to approach a person that you haven't talked to in years. As Tailored coaches, we do offer practical tools and support to help you with that concern through an ongoing coaching relationship. You can also watch a recording of a previous webinar we did on cultivating partnerships that last, and that will give you tips for how to engage your network well. So Lindsay, will you put that link to that webinar in the chat? Lindsay will also be putting a link for the webinar in the email that she's going to be sending you all. So if you don't see it in the chat, that's fine. You're going to be getting that link, no problem.
All right, so let's say that that's not you, that you've intentionally and thoroughly connected with everybody in your network and you're still underfunded. That's when looking to expand your network is necessary. So there's many ways to do that, but we're going to hone in on how to do that specifically through individuals, churches, and small groups. So let's start with individuals. So these are going to be individuals that you already have connections to that can help connect you to other people. The first way to do this is through referrals. And getting a referral is as simple as just asking, who do you know that might be excited to be a part of this ministry? We're not asking if they know anybody with money. Remember what Marianne said, it's not about following the money. We want to follow the relationship and foster that. So we truly believe that funding is a natural outpouring of a strong connection to the people, to the work. So let's focus on connecting with people who are excited about the work, not just people who we think have money. You can ask for referrals at the end of a partner meeting. You can ask for referrals by sending out emails or messages to people asking for a response, whatever makes sense to you. But referrals aren't for everyone. If it sounds like a good idea to you, great, go for it. But if not, that's okay too. Find something else. The goal here is not for you to do everything that we talk about today, but it's to find the right pieces that work for you and then to pray about the best way to implement those in your network. The most effective way of asking for referrals is to ask your advocate for a couple of questions. So what compels you to partner? It's not, why do you support us? But asking what compels someone to partner does a couple of things. It reminds the person that they're a partner. It reminds them that they're an owner or a shareholder in the work. And it also helps them to identify what they're passionate about. And the next question that we ask is, who do you know that might be excited to be a part of this type of ministry? That broadens the partners network because they're not just thinking about who has resources, but they're also thinking about who do I know that is passionate about this type of work as well. And then ask them to actually introduce you to that person, usually in a brief message, so that they're the ones passing the baton, so to speak, instead of it being more like a cold call. So here's an example of a message. It can be as simple as just this. So, hey, Tom, wanted to introduce you to Joan, who's a friend of mine who works with an organization called OM. We've been blessed to be part of the work that she's doing among Muslim nomads in the Sahara Desert. In the last few years, God started a literacy movement that's transforming camel herders into the next generation of young leaders in Chad. Her vision is to see more and more students developed and empowered, and I've committed to help introduce her to others who might be interested in hearing her story and in partnering financially. Would you mind if I give her your email and number so that she can message you to connect personally? So this kind of a message could go through texting, it could be an email, it could be a WhatsApp message, even a Facebook message, but we recommend texting first if you can, as it's usually more effective and gets a quicker response. So emails can work for business referrals, but a text or individual message is more personal and is going to be seen more quickly than an email.
So the second way to expand your network through individuals is with advocates. So who is an advocate? Advocates are current partners, which are financial or prayer partners, who take a more active role in connecting you to their network. So they're not just passing along names, they're making introductions over coffee, they're hosting events, they're setting up speaking engagements, and so on. So keep in mind that in today's world, this can also happen successfully online via Zoom or any other video conferencing platform. You can usually identify an advocate based on their deeper connection to the work. This could be somebody who sought you out to become a partner or who partnered generously with you, someone who is regularly checking in and seeing how things are going with you in your ministry, a serious prayer warrior, or someone who likes every single post you make. Their actions are showing you that they are invested in this. So look at your contacts and make a list of potential advocates based on who seems to be really engaged in what you're doing. There are several roles that an advocate can take, and that role will be based on their own skills and interests. Let's look at 5 advocacy roles to help you further identify what kind of advocate somebody might be. So the first is a cheerleader. This person is very excited and passionate about what you're doing. So think of this as your hype person. They freely talk about the ministry and share how exciting it is. And since they freely talk about your ministry, they're great people to ask to help you to build your team. I would start by asking them what ideas they have, but here are some examples to help you start brainstorming. Number 1, inviting one of their friends to coffee, making it clear that they want them to hear about this ministry. So it's not just a coffee date, it's like an intentional coffee date. Number 2, asking the leader of groups that they are a part of to have you come and speak. So this could be like a connect group from church or a book club that they are a part of. Number 3, being an MC at one of your events. Number 4, speaking on your behalf at an event like a prayer group or a church breakfast to help get the ministry in front of more people than you can do on your own. So that is the cheerleader. The second is the host. Who are the people you know who seem to be always hosting something in their home? That would be me. Or maybe they're helping to put on a church event. Hosts can be outgoing or more reserved. So think less about the personality of a person and more about their heart for hospitality. Sorry, I just lost my place here. If they are, so you need to just basically lean into their own strengths of what type of events that they are comfortable hosting. It could be a small or a large group. It could be at a home or some other space like a church or community center, or even over Zoom. So again, the hope with all advocates is to tap into their passions, giftings, and their skills and maximize that connect more people to the ministry. Next, we have the influencer. So this is a person who has the power to influence others. This could be someone who has a position of leadership where they can introduce you to other key people or leaders. This leader can make personal introductions, but they could also write a letter of endorsement that helps give you credibility with major donors or churches, especially if you or your potential partner are a part of a denomination that has a high value on authority and accountability. These endorsement letters can be really beneficial. Or this influencer could be someone who has a large following that can use their platforms to promote the ministry and get more people involved. So when thinking about these people, ask yourself, what is a name of local people? What is a name that local people would know and respect? So this could be a city council representative, a retired professional athlete, a pastor, or someone highly regarded in the church or your district. The president of a favorite organization, maybe. This can also be leaders in your own sending organization. So your field leader or your president. Again, you need to lean into their natural strengths and see if they'd be interested in talking about what advocacy would look like for them. It could be a letter, maybe it's a video. Videos are great, short and sweet. Maybe they could even join in an event like a Zoom event or a Facebook Live, and they can share about their own passion for missions and invite others to join you. So 4th is the networker. People who have good connections with others and network well. This person is likely to say things like, you have to meet so-and-so, or let me get you connected to this person. They are naturally gifted at meeting people, naturally gifted at building relationships and making introductions. Networkers are also people that you can go to for ideas on how to connect to other people in general, even if they're not the one to connect to. If you are hitting a wall, or if you have an idea and you just aren't sure how to implement it, ask a networker for advice. Finally, the 5th advocacy role is the returning missionary. Do you know a missionary who is coming off the field that might be willing to suggest to their partners, both individual and church partners, that they move their giving over to you? This is pretty straightforward. It's just an email and ask if they would be open to that. Especially if you're going to be in the same region or doing a similar ministry that would be a good fit for what their current partners are already investing in. I would suggest writing something that profiles you and the ministry before you send the initial email to them, though. That way they have something to read, ready to go for them and send out on your behalf. You want to make sure that the information is accurate, and you also cut down on the work that the other missionaries have to do. So we want to make it as easy as possible for our advocates to help. So definitely write something out, have it ready to go, like a little bio, so they're not having to think about that. I mentioned getting their ideas, which you want to do for sure to foster participation and ownership. But if they have ideas that you don't think will work, like selling t-shirts, for example, please feel free to redirect them. So a lot of people sometimes will say, oh, I got this great idea. And it's a really not great idea. Selling t-shirts, selling CDs, things like that, bake sales. Those are very kind things to suggest, but we want to redirect those ideas to something that is more sustainable.
Sounds like you may have had a t-shirt campaign or two, Marianne.
Yeah, you need to sell CDs.
It was because you're a musician, right? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Okay. Another way to expand your network is through small groups. So small groups are just an awesome way to meet new people because you're simply joining in on something that's already set up. So the participants don't have to do any other work other than just showing up to something that they're already committed to. The most natural place to get connected to a small group is through a church. So what I would do is I would email if they have a small group pastor, home group pastor, or it doesn't matter, it could be whatever pastor that you have connections with there. Just ask if they could introduce you via email to the small group leaders so that then you can reach out to those small group leaders individually and ask if they'd like to host you. Maybe you may even want to make a flyer that kind of describes what you're going to be doing. Just make sure too that those home group leaders, the small group leaders, know that you're going to come and invite people to financial partnership if that's what you're doing. Sometimes people just want to go to create awareness. Other times they also want to make an invitation to partner. So just be clear and upfront about that. And if they say that no, you can't make a financial invitation to partner, should you still go? Of course, you're creating awareness for the work. If you have time to do that, then yes, I would say go for it. Think outside the box here a little bit. That many people in your network are also part of small groups that aren't a part of a church. So, this could be some men who just get together weekly to pray or to connect, just eat breakfast together. It could be like a MOPS group, some other kind of moms group that regularly could be a group of your old college friends that still hang out every month. In those situations, you just want to ask the individuals in your network if they're part of a group that gets together regularly and if they might be interested in having you come share. And don't forget about campus ministries and youth small groups. I think it's so often that we just overlook that younger generation. You guys, the younger generation is just not getting involved in missions. So let's give them that opportunity to do that and to be involved in the world. So even if they aren't able to give much, or you think they aren't able to give much, I mean, think about how much money teenagers and college students spend on Starbucks every week. If they get a coffee a week, they can afford to steward their money in a way that brings kingdom impact. So giving those people an opportunity to begin investing in the kingdom now will even have a greater eternal impact than waiting until they're older and that they actually have money. So remember, we're not trying to follow the money. This is bigger than money. This actually is ministry. Also think about some of the people that you've discipled or mentored over the years. Those people are probably very interested in partnering and likely to partner, but they also might be part of a small group that'd be interested in learning about the ministry. Or are there parents of a youth group that you worked with that might want to hear more? If a small group leader has invited you to speak, be sure to ask the leader of the group how much time they would like for you to share. It might be just for 10 minutes, or it could be the whole meeting. You want to know ahead of time so that you can create a message that fits into that time frame and also honors that time frame. Ask the small group leader, how does the group do missions? Or what aspect of God's kingdom work do you think that the group would want to know more about? And then adapt that message to relate to those people that are in the group. We also would recommend that you start with an icebreaker or some kind of short quiz or a game or even an illustration as a way to capture people's attention right off the bat. How fun is that? Like we love that. It could be a cultural faux pas. You've got your presentation that you're doing, but you don't have room to put cultural faux pas or even maybe some historical information. Those things can kind of supplement your presentation, but in a fun way that gets people engaged and interested right off the bat. They think you're fun. Who doesn't want to partner with someone who's fun? So come ready with materials. These could be prayer cards, potentially some brochures on your organization, something definitely that has giving information on it. Maybe it's a one-pager that has some of that brief personal information and also some ideas or details on the ministry. And we'd recommend that you bring more than just one per person, because you never know when there's going to be a networker there and they might be in the room and walk away with a whole stack of things that they want to give their friends and family. So feel free to share freely. One other piece of material that we would encourage you to bring is a response card. Now, sometimes your organization will have one for you, but if they don't, this can be something that you just create on your own, and it doesn't have to be super fancy. It doesn't have to be really stylish, because, some people aren't good at that, and that's okay. Just make sure that it's clear and simple. So a lot of times I've seen people just take a whole sheet of paper, make it into fourths, and then they just collect information on it, like name, address, email, phone number, and make sure if you're doing this, if you can fit it in there, that you have room for 2 people's names, 2 people's phone numbers, 2 people's email addresses, because you want to be not just messaging the person that filled it out. It could be that the husband fills it out, but their wife is the person that is the contact for you. So make sure to try to capture both people's giving. And then you want to list options of interest. And so here's the ones that we recommend. Definitely have on there a place for, I'm interested in receiving your newsletters. I'd like to be on your prayer team if you have a prayer team, or you could say, just say, I'd be interested in praying for the work. I'm interested in a financial partnership. And the reason that we worded it as I'm interested in a financial partnership is because a lot of times most people don't know right off the bat what you're even going to say. So what we're doing is following the interest rather than asking for a strong commitment. So when we follow the interest, that gives us an opportunity to talk with them later and to talk with them more and actually get to know them as well when you're in the meeting with them, which is super important. But if you also want to add a space that says, hey, I'm ready to partner today, fantastic, and be ready to collect that information if someone says yes right now. You can also capture the same information that is on that response card in a digital platform by having a QR code on the form that then people can scan in case that's their preference. I know we've seen a lot of that with COVID, people not wanting to touch pens or paper or things like that. So if they can just hover over that QR code and fill out that form on a mobile platform, that would be fantastic. We recommend Google Forms. I'm sure there's other things out there that I don't even know about, but Google Forms is great and super easy to learn. You could also have a separate QR code that's potentially a different color or something like that on that can capture that mobile gift. Like they can just go straight to your giving site. You could embed your giving link in there, but remember, keep it aesthetically pleasing. So if there's too many QR codes on there or confusing, that could kind of clunk it up. But anyway, those are some suggestions. Another nice touch is after people have filled it out, invite them to flip the card over and share what they've learned. Maybe they have a connection with the work in some way, what gripped their heart, or maybe even a prayer request that they have. And again, this helps build a deeper connection to each person, and that's what we're trying to do. The goal of this form is that all of them are filling it out together and handing it in together right away, not walking out the door with it. So they can walk out the door with your prayer card that I would suggest also has your giving information and everything on it, but this is designed to be collected right then and there. So it's ideal to do this right before you ask for questions. So think about it. If you're in a small group situation, especially if you're in a Sunday school class, if you say, let's open it up for a time of question and answer, and you don't do this form, what's the chance that people are going out to the nursery to get their children because they're, oh my gosh, I'm running late, or hey, I've got a crock pot roast at home that's going, I need to get home. Or even if you're at a small group at somebody's house in the evening, oh gosh, I got to go get a babysitter. So go through your presentation and then say, before we open it up for a time of question and answer, I'd love for everybody to just take the next 60 seconds and fill out this form and then kind of walk through it. And then as they're filling it out, open it up for a time of question and answer. This is also a great place in a small group where you can have that host endorse you by just saying why they partner with the ministry. Just, make sure that if your invitation to partner is clear, it could come from the host. whatever. Anyway, as soon as these people hand these in and you walk out the door, these people go to the very top of the list. Anybody who's interested in partnership goes right to the top of your list for follow-up. Soon as you schedule this event, go ahead and block out time right after. Either it's the next day or it's that next night, and make sure that you're following up within 24 to 48 hours. Don't let it go for a week. People sometimes think, oh, I don't want to bother people. You're not bothering people. You're actually helping them to remember the information that they just heard the night before. So you're helping them to help you. So thank them for their interest. Let them know what to expect next, whether that's, how to receive your newsletters or when they're going to be coming, or how to get involved in prayer, or details in terms of like if they want a meeting, suggest some times and dates that are good for you to meet. So like I said, these people are your top priority and you want to follow up with them when it's fresh on their minds. That is good leadership and good stewardship. And then guess what? You've got more people in your network that may be able to help introduce you to their friends and family. Could this person give referrals? Is this person interested in being an advocate? In this way, you are ever expanding your network. You're seeking out more and more passionate people to be a part of the ministry with you.
Yeah, that's good. The last thing that we want to look at is expanding your network through churches. A lot of people are open to this strategy, but they don't know how to start. So a few good questions to ask yourself would be, what denominations align with my theology and mission? How far am I willing to travel to get to a church? And what are the reasons I would not consider partnering with a church? So those are good questions to ask yourself. Churches add credibility and they allow you to speak to a larger group of people at one time. So building that awareness. Before speaking to a church, you need to do some research. Find out their missional focus or who they've partnered with in the past. Ask the pastor, what does the church have a burden for? To make sure that it lines up with your ministry, and then tailor your message to highlight where your passions align. Your goal is to cast a vision for your ministry so that people want to know more or see the great need your ministry is addressing and want to help you solve that problem. And if a pastor will let you, you can use those same response cards that we walked through with the small groups that Deb just mentioned in the church setting too. Ideally, you want to put them on every chair and you want to walk them through the form together at the end of your presentation. And it's even better if the pastor can do this part. That would be ideal. And even having them either leave it on their seat or pass it to the center of the aisle or put it in the offering plate, whichever is easiest. But the moment you try to give them that extra step after the service, you are likely to lose a significant percentage of people who get distracted or have to rush out the door, have to get their kids from the nursery, crock pot at home, just like Deb said. You're going to lose them if you don't do that during your presentation. So that's super important. If they won't let you put them on the chair, maybe there's an option to put it in a bulletin or have a slide with a QR code, something like that. Don't take the first no to mean that you can't do anything. Walk through the list of possibilities, starting with the most ideal to the least ideal, and see which one is the best option at that particular church. You can also get introduced to other pastors or district superintendents through the pastors that you already have relationships with. A lot of times, there are groups of local pastors they regularly meet with or are just associated with, and they may be willing to introduce you to them. This is where a personal introduction really makes a difference rather than the pastor just giving you a name for you to contact. So if you think about it, if you got an email that said, "Hi, Pastor Wayne, Pastor Tom at Grace Church gave me your info," how likely would it be that you would respond to them right away? Probably not. But if another pastor that you have a relationship with emails and says, "Hi, Pastor Wayne, I want to introduce you to a wonderful missionary our church supports who is doing incredible work in Guatemala." So because there is more of a relationship and the pastor is essentially vouching for you, it carries more weight and you're likely to get a better and quicker response. One of our coaches had a church planter contact a pastor that he knew was a networker and influential in the denomination. He asked him to invite 20 pastors to a Facebook Live event he had, and to tell the pastors ahead of time that he was trusting God for 20 churches to partner at $100 a month. They all came to the meeting and they all gave. So he raised $2,000 per month in an hour and a half. That just blows my mind. So for more ideas and tips on church partnerships, we encourage you to watch our webinar on building church partnerships that last. And Lindsay's going to put that link to that webinar in the chat, but don't forget, she's also going to be sending you an email after the webinar, a follow-up email, and that link is going to be in that email as well.
That Facebook Live event was so cool. He did things like we mentioned before about playing games and things like that. I actually attended that webinar, Facebook Live, the Facebook Live event. And it was great. If you're going to do a Facebook Live event, do your homework on how to do a good Facebook Live event. You should Google some ideas or watch some of them on YouTube just to make sure that you know what you're doing. I wouldn't just say, hey, go for a Facebook Live, but it is a great tool. Just make sure you know what you're doing. Okay, we do want to open it up for a time of question and answer, but before we do that, we'd love to spend a little bit of time in reflection on what we've experienced today. So in the chat box, can you guys put down the answer to this question? What is something in this webinar that has been helpful for you? So go ahead and put it in the chat box. Make sure that you're selecting everyone so that everyone can see your answer. Open up the chat box and check it out. All right, don't be shy. Here we go. Awesome. The response cards. Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, following the relationship, not the money. Amen to that. Amen to that. Wow. Good job, you guys.
So many.
There's like a million of them in here. Yeah.
I know.
Response
cards are huge. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Learning
that
how
I
to
already
approach
have.
them.
Sorry, that I already have a network I haven't tapped into yet. Yep, absolutely. We do. We all know so many people.
That's great. Different advocacy roles. Yep.
Tapping into passions and the interests of others and drawing them into advocacy. That's so good, because you don't want to ask somebody to do something that's completely out of their wheelhouse, because they're not going to be as successful.
Yep. And then love the Facebook Live idea with a group of pastors. Yeah, it's fun. Fun. Lots about the response cards, lots about the different advocacy roles. I love what Matthew said, don't ask who has money, but rather ask who needs to hear about the ministry. Yep. Good.
Edward says, could we see an example of an actual response card? Yeah, I don't have it here. I mean, you can Google those response cards, or Lindsay, do you have a better idea?
We have an example response card, and I can include that in the follow-up email as an attachment, or maybe as an image in the email. So I'll put that in that, because it's a lot to kind of include here detail wise.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And a lot of times our people make them on Canva. I mean, you could do it on any word processing program, that you have too, but there's a website out there called canva.com. Can you put that in the chat, Lindsay? Mm-hmm. It's a little bit of a learning curve for Canva, but we love it. Once you get the hang of it, it's awesome, but it takes a little bit to begin with. But they have some really cool features if you want to zhuzh it up and make it fancy schmancy and not the just quarter plain sheet. It's up to you.
Yeah, I would also check
Lindsay,
with your sending organization, because a lot of times they have templates already ready to go with their logo and all of that for you. But yeah, we do have a few questions. Susan asks, do you have more on giving sites? So Susan, we might need a little follow-up on what you mean by giving sites. Do you mean where a partner goes to give whenever they're ready to make a financial partnership? Or do you mean giving sites like GoFundMe and those types of things? Maybe clarify for us. Or Deb, Marianne, if you guys know what she's talking about.
I'm thinking that she's probably like Donor Hub, that, but I don't understand the question really.
Yeah, or gift tracking. Okay, we'll go to the next one. Susan, send me a message and explain kind of what you're getting at there. Becky asks, our church has offered to allow missionaries to give a 2-minute video that is played in the service. What do you suggest we include in that?
Deb, do you have an idea of what she can include in a 2-minute video?
A 2-minute video. Well, again, you need to figure out if they're inviting you to ask for partnership too, because if they're not inviting you to ask for partnership, then you have more time to talk about the ministry. So I would say mission and vision. People follow mission and vision. I mean, I think people follow vision. So I would definitely include your vision, and your vision doesn't have to be this long, 2-minute thing. Your vision should just be like one sentence that, our vision is to, see a network of transformational churches that are indigenous to the people. I don't know. I can't like, what am I trying to say? Marianne, help me out with the vision statement, because I've had
Yeah. So like we did one, and I think it probably was about 2 minutes. You want to include who you are first, because people connect with you as a person too. So you want to like show who you are, introduce yourself, where you're serving, and then say like, I totally forget what it is. I'm just gonna like guess. It was something like, we are ministering to the musician community in Dublin, Ireland, to invite them to use their talents to worship the Lord. It was something like that, to where it was just real basically, who are we ministering to and what's our goal with that people group. So definitely like who you are and your mission, vision statement. And yeah, 2 minutes doesn't allow you a lot of time.
And I just realized I spelled
sense?
disciple wrong. Yeah, I just put an example of a vision statement in. That was perfect, Marianne. That was great. But like igniting a disciple making movement in Europe, mission, vision, and yeah, for sure. Definitely. I think everything that Marianne said was perfect. And I also want to just encourage you that working with a coach will help you. So we will help you to get your whole message done from, like your 15-20 minute message. And then we can help you pull out from those pieces what might be good to fit in that 2-minute slot as well. We do that all the time with people. We do the 5-minute ones, the 2-minute ones, we do the 30-second elevator pitch. So all of those things your coach can help you with as well. So I'd encourage you to sign up for coaching.
Yeah. Okay, so Susan gave me a little clarification on her question. We mentioned use a giving site for Google Forms, and that's what spurred her question.
I got you. Your giving site. So for example, if you're with One Collective, you would go to your One Collective page, hit the giving button, and then whatever is your individual link, if you have one. You don't want to give don't embed in the QR code the link to the organization, but take them all the way through all those clicks and put that last click in there. And some of you your organization has a specific link for you, just for you. Some of you don't. Just get them to the last page where it makes it easy for them to be able to sign up and give. And Canva, again, if you're doing your response card on Canva will create a QR code for you. There's a little button, you just click QR code, and then you right click on your URL and stick that in the link. Where there's also another website called qrcodemonkey.com. And same thing, but you've got to read, if you use QR code monkey, like last I checked, it wasn't, your QR code wouldn't expire, but read the fine print, because sometimes it'll be like, oh, it expires after 90 days and then you have to pay for it. So just make sure when you're doing a QR code that it doesn't expire or that you're paying for it.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a great tip. I think you're just trying to remove as many barriers as possible to giving. You don't want them to have to make several clicks. If you can make one click, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I don't see any other questions. Does anyone else have questions you'd like to put in the Q&A box? Go ahead and we'll be happy to answer those. I don't see any more, Deb. So
Okay, let me just answer. John had a question about.
he did, and I tried to find it and I couldn't find it. So I thought I'll let you answer it.
It's what compels you to partner.
There we go.
So John, the first question is what compels you to partner in the ministry? And the next one follows that with, okay, so now that you know that, who else is somebody who might be excited about that very same thing? So good question. Sorry, I was trying to do like both, listen to the Q&A questions and think through what my answer was going to be, and do that at the same time. So anyway, all right, well, you guys, we're super thankful that you were able to carve some time out this morning to join us for this. Glad that you're walking away with sounds like some really good mindset shifts, as well as some good practical tools. We also want to invite you to our next webinar. We're not going to have one in April. We are going to have one Thursday, May the 16th at 9 a.m. Central Daylight Time. And we're going to be talking there about summer fundraising for veteran missionaries. So how do you plan for your summer furlough trip? And what are some good things to different ideas and tips for how to make summer fundraising effective? Lindsay's going to put that in the chat box. She's also going to put that in the summary email that she sends you afterwards. And like I said before, we'd love for you to schedule an appointment with Benny, who's one of our coaches, to set up a free call so that he can answer any questions that you might have about whether or not coaching is right for you. And he can also help you with potential next steps in your fundraising journey. So go ahead and click on that link right away and schedule a time with Benny. So we really view you guys as partners in the Great Commission. And if you decide to pursue coaching, we're going to personalize our approach with you based on your situation and your needs. So sometimes there'll be training involved, training you in best practices. Other times it's coaching, and it's more creating an awareness around potential challenges. And always, 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 we'd be sharing tons of resources with you, just like Lindsay's going to do with this example response card. But we're going to share resources. We've got such a huge library over the last, I don't know how many years, 11 years, I guess now. You can imagine how many client examples and things that we have. And we'd love to share those with you so that you can get some ideas, and hopefully that will provide a springboard for you to come up with your own ideas. And we can tailor those things to your specific audience. So we're here to encourage you. We want to motivate you. We want to lift you up. We want to empower you, and we want to support you in any way that we can. So thanks again, you guys, for joining us. Hope you guys have a wonderful St. Patrick's Day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.